Welcome back to the pod. So today, I decided to switch things up. We're going to talk about something a little bit different outside of what we normally talk about. And today we're going to talk about how cancel culture is not the same as accountability. Cancel culture is not the same thing as accountability. We need to have a serious talk about this. I have never been a fan of cancel culture, not in terms of the thing that we have to give everybody a second chance, because obviously sometimes there are people who absolutely need to step out of the spotlight and actually like go live a personal life and work on themselves. But cancel culture has become so saturated with people just wanting a chance to get mad at somebody that they completely miss the part of why we're even mad at that person in the first place. I don't know how long this is going to be, so grab a snack, get a blanket, get all cozy somewhere, and let's have a chat. So, the reason this topic came up to me in my mind this week actually is because of everything going on with Love Island and the girl named Sierra, I believe. I don't watch Love Island, so it really didn't feel too like striking to me in terms of like a piece of media that I consumed that I was affected by. But it was enough to where it got on TikTok and it got on the internet and just very widespread conversations happening around these posts that she's made repeatedly, apparently, using a slur towards East Asian demographics. And I will say there's a whole video that I did on TikTok kind of talking about my thoughts on it, because I did grow up getting called quite an interesting combination of slurs as a child, being both black and Japanese. And so I do have my own thoughts on the situation and everything like that, but I do feel like a lot of people did not handle the situation the way they should have as bystanders, because that's really who we are. We are all bystanders in the situation. None of us know her personally. None of us are ever going to actually get to have a conversation with her to tell her how we feel about it. And also, I think the other thing that I found to be interesting is a lot of people that were not even directly affected by like the slur in terms of like, who it's aimed at usually, jumped into the conversation, and not just jumped into the conversation, but started doing like some really bizarre things like calling ICE on her family members who are here, illegally, and also like just doing like really weird things like sending death threats. Like, how is that? Okay, we're gonna pause there. How is a death threat supposed to help somebody learn from their actions? That's a real question. I think we have become all so chronically online to the point that we don't know how to behave as people anymore. Like, it's true. Like, there are literal studies that show that these exorbitant amounts of digital media that we consume and overconsume on a daily basis actually shrink the parts of our brain that have emotional awareness, any form of empathy, and real self-awareness. Like, there are actual studies on this. I'm not a psychologist. I don't have access to those studies right now, but I remember reading those things in college and thinking to myself, dang, we are really cooked. And that was back in 2017. It is 2025, and we are so cooked. Because I feel like our media consumption has changed even more than it was when I was a college student. Today, we can't go 8 hours without our phone in our hand. We can't even go maybe 8 seconds without a phone in our hand. And I feel like because we're all so chronically online, we have this real disconnect on what accountability means. And that, I think, birthed cancel culture. Again, some people really have to be put out of the spotlight. Some people don't deserve to be in the spotlight with the things that they do or continue to or have done or whatever it might be, right? And that's a real conversation, and that's a separate conversation. But then there are people who, well, even though they have a large platform and oh, they should know better and they're old enough and all these other things, there is a place to insert into the conversation of, did they actually know better? Because let's be honest, we make a lot of dumb people famous. Let's be real. And also the other thing is, it could be literally any of us who is ignorant, who doesn't know what they're doing. And I should have grabbed some water before I started this dang. But my thought here is, even though she has recent, obviously going back to Sierra, even though she has like recent mentions of this specific slur, I also am just looking back at her digital footprint, and like I've done a ton of research on it and stuff, and I think it's interesting because like I think all of us would be canceled if everybody saw our own digital footprint, no matter what it was that we posted on social media back years ago. I used to be a raging alt-right conservative, like less than 10 years ago. Probably like 6 or 7 years ago was when I finally was like, oh yeah, I don't actually align with either extreme of politics. I am a traditional progressive, and that's it. And that's how I became a political centrist, to just kind of be party free. But because of my political history, I posted a lot of things like on Facebook or Twitter. I lost access to my Twitter account, by the way, so there's no way for me to delete anything. So if y'all find anything on me on Twitter in the future that I said that was super ignorant, just know ahead of time, I'm so sorry. And it was not even like good family values that I was posting about. I was just getting mad at random people on the internet because they didn't think like me. And that's embarrassing. Like these years later, it's so embarrassing to look back and be like, sometimes you get your little Facebook memories of what you reposted back then. And it's just like, whoa, I am not that person anymore. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about looking back at someone's digital footprint, getting dug up from 10, 15 years ago, 5 years ago. Shoot, I don't know. But the thing that makes it distinguishingly different, obviously, with the Sierra situation is she continued. People did try to hold her accountable. And she continued on past that point of accountability, although we don't know all the details. We don't know that somebody literally sat her down and told her what everything meant. Like we have screenshots obviously online of like people tried to talk to her about like, hey, like don't use that. This means this and this. And she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. But like hearing her say again, I didn't know and stuff like that shows that she kind of didn't learn. Does that mean she should be canceled and she should not be given a platform anymore? That's probably not for us to decide, because here's the thing, regardless of what happens in terms of how she has treated the slur, how she's treated feedback over that conversation, there's always going to be somebody following her. She's already been made famous. There's not a chance of her not being famous anymore. And I think that everybody has to remember we only have so much power over famous people's lives. There's always going to be somebody who's following them who doesn't care what they did. And so for us to create a new narrative of like going from not even just like saying like, oh, she should be held accountable, but like going to the extreme of like death threats and calling ICE on her family, that's really not going to do a lot to help her learn. If anything, that could embolden her to continue to just not care and to be heartless. And really, that's the thing with anybody. Anybody, if they're not truly sat down by somebody who is a trusted individual in their personal life, there is no reason for them to shape up. There's no reason for them to change their ways. And same thing goes with like, if you get the law involved, it's the law. It's not going to change their heart or their stance on something, because we're all stubborn. Like all humans are so freakishly stubborn that we can't expect for something like the law or history lessons or anything like that to change a person unless they really, really want to. And I do feel like in a lot of cases when people come out and apologize for things, they don't really mean it. It's like a PR stunt, you know, to make sure like their hands are clean and they cleaned up their own little mess that they made. Those are real. And I'm not saying every apology is fake, but I do see that when you reach a certain point of fame, you can't be canceled in that sense of like, you have too many people following you already. You have too many hyper loyal fans to be canceled. And so when people are online right now saying like, oh, we canceled Sierra, she got kicked out of Love Island. No, we didn't cancel her. We got her kicked off a show. We did do that. We as in humanity. But you guys didn't manage to take away her millions of followers that she has on social media, because she still has a fan base. There are people who are going to follow her regardless. And there are also some of her haters who are following her to see her downfall. So no, she's not going to lose everything. Unfortunately, she's not going to lose everything like some people are wanting her to. And maybe that's for the better. But I will close with this. I do hope sincerely that her and anyone else who has gotten canceled for something that they did wrong in terms of their internet behavior or their way of speaking to somebody, I hope that somebody personally in their private life holds them to a higher standard because that's really what helps us change as people. If someone that we know and love is challenging us to become a better person and we have the capacity to receive constructive criticism, that's what changes us as people, not millions of people screaming at us online. If anything, I feel like that would further push you to just not care. Because you can't see those people. You can't see the effect it's having on them because they're on the other side of a screen. They're in your comment section, for crying out loud. Like, you don't know the impact. And to you, it might just be words in a comment section. It might just be pages out of a history book that explains something to you, until somebody actually sits you down, looks you in the eyes, and tells you why it's wrong. So with that in mind, don't forget to hold your friends accountable. Don't forget to hold your family accountable. It may not be on that kind of scale of like on national TV, like, you know, getting ripped to pieces and, you know, oh, your Twitter screenshots all got pulled out and millions of people have seen it now. It's not always going to be on that type of scale, but someday somebody might come across a situation that they were not prepared to deal with in terms of being a mindful human being or an educated human being, or just being a good human in general. And somebody's going to have to be there to swoop in at some point into the conversation and tell them, hey, this is what you did wrong. And I'm here to walk alongside you if you're willing to change, but you got to learn. And until that happens, they're probably not going to change. But also, at the end of the day, it's not your responsibility to fix anybody. They have to want to change themselves. So I don't know. Those are my basic thoughts. I didn't have any kind of script. I just thought this was something good to cover this week, especially with everything going on in the world right now. There's so much chaos. We could all be a little kinder. We could all be a little bit more mindful of our own actions. And we can't change the entire world's perspective on things, but we can change each other's minds a little bit every day. So, anyway, I'm going to hop off my soapbox and go eat some chicken nuggets. You guys go have a great, beautiful weekend, or whatever time of week it is for you when you're watching or listening to this. I will chat with you guys again very, very soon.